And that's what we are in a species envelope. We are too preoccupied with the material gain. Thus, the blessings of melanin as a conductor, transducer, disseminator, and translator of the divine light codes of molecular redemption are lost. The overuse and focus on material illusions has programmed our melanin to overload the left brain, while causing the right to become atrophied and thus starved for attention. This lack of focus of light into the right hemisphere of the brain and the overload of light in the left are primary causes for such diseases as Alzheimer's, dyslexia, homosexuality, speech impediments, strokes, migraines, ear infections, insomnia, and narcolepsy. The lack of use in your God mind overloads the left brain functioning and destroys the whole brain. The lack of your ability to invest light into things that need to be searched for from within, not through a goddamn book. The only way to use the right brain is to unfold the library that is within the genes. That library that contains every word you spoke from the beginning, 66 trillion years ago. And you're looking in this white man's book for education. Trying to find shit about yourself in his book. Are y'all out of your fucking minds out there? Those books were written to keep you stupid. You can start singing songs. You should start listening to black meditation music. Fuck that jazz shit. It's black meditation music. It's melanin meditation music. If you don't play Bird, if you don't play Monk, if you don't play Coltrane, you're going to fuck your brain up. Those are healing tones. They align you because they came directly from dark matter consciousness. This is why meditation is essential. We must meditate on both the light of activity and the stillness of the dark. If we do not use light and dark, we will burn out only one side. And that's the trick of those who keep telling you, come to the light, come to the light. You better watch them. Because anybody telling you to come to the light is trying to polarize your consciousness one more time. If he ain't telling you study the devil and study the light at the same time, then he's trying to polarize you into a whole other context of thinking. And those are the vampires of consciousness I talked about in the previous lecture. Those are the ones who become priests. Those are the ones who become ministers. Those are the ones who start pimping your spiritual focus and start sucking your light. And you're looking in the damn Bible for your salvation. You wrote that shit is so old. Write another Bible. You wrote that one. I challenge the preachers to write another damn Bible. You couldn't. Christians are so goddamn ignorant, they had to take somebody else's religion. You ain't even got shit for yourself. What is a Christian except a Jew? You worship a Jew. Your heroes are Jews. And you wonder why you're so fucked up. And those ain't even real Jews. You don't even know what Jews mean. Jews weren't a who, it's a what. But they got you good, boy. They took all of the stories you wrote and superimposed their own reality on it. And you bought that shit lock, stock, and barrel.
Bamboozled.
Bamboozled.
Hey. Hoodwinked. Yeah.
My people perish for lack of knowledge.
That is true.
My goodness. You know, you got to sit down and think about what has happened to us as a people. But then you begin to understand that if we wanted to, the majority on the planet, we could have killed everything that was in our way as a collective mindset. But that is not us. That is not us. It ain't us.
Can't get it together. That's right.
But you see, to get it together, like Sister says, in this context, is to get something together that has a terminal end. You can't get together what it is we are.
That's right.
Because who we are is the beingness that must become. And they're just trying to learn what it is to become, because every time you see us coin a new phrase, get a new handshake, make some new music, what the fuck do they do except pimp it?
Yeah. Right.
So I'm saying to you, you are already in the process of becoming. If you can now consolidate that realization into your activities and delete your participation from this, pull the fucking plug, everything collapses tomorrow. It is your participation in his madness that gives him strength. That's why he constantly gives you commercials to keep you occupied with him. I'm over here. Eating, beloved brothers and sisters, eating after the fall into matter and the process of natural transduction or synthesis of melanin became increasingly difficult. Understand and understand why we eat. This was never part of our matrix. After the fall into matter and the process of natural transduction or synthesis of melanin became increasingly difficult, the light that channeled through the conduits of intelligence structured by melanin became blocked. The pigmentation remained in the skin primarily as a residual component of oxidized iron, which gave the ancestors of fallen man the blackish, brownish, and reddish tones we wear today. Melanin was a vibratory process. It was not a pigment. It was a hue that showed. That was the evidence of its activity. You can tell melanin is inactive because we some dull-looking motherfuckers, boy. We some ashy-ass people. That would never happen if melanin was truly active. As the original color of our previous consciousness dispensation was a dark, vibrant, radiated, iridescent green in this consciousness time continuum, this color represented a harmonic overtone of the original melanin consciousness design that kept us in syntonic resonance and relationship with the light code instructions emanated by our sun. With the event of a great war and the polar shift of our sun, the earth and the spin orientation of the other planets in our solar system, the overtones or frequencies, the sound frequency harmonics of our stable consciousness time zone was radically changed to the sharps and flats and dissonant tones we see registered as the flat colors we wear today. I just spoke music to you. Sharps and flats. Because all music is light, and all light is music. The hues or color variations of the 7-band light spectrum became shorted out because the photoetheric melanin that aligned us to the higher light code instructions of divine intelligence was knocked out of phase with the lower, more condensed molecular representation of melanin on the material plane. This shorted out the circuitry. We were no longer glowing in the dark. We no longer had the hue that gave us the hue man, that gave us the iridescence and the incandescence and the iridescence representative of our consciousness development. In other words, wherever your chakra points were, that is what registered. That's how you registered consciousness. You could tell where a person was thinking, where they were feeling, where they were transmitting from and to, by the hue they glowed from. Because that particular wheel would become more overly worked, and then that would then register as the color tone of emotion. That's why they want you. They want your emotional body, because you need the emotional body to procreate. The grays can't procreate anymore. Who else can't procreate pretty good anymore? Do you know that when nature dictates that a species cannot procreate itself naturally anymore, that its terminus is its hand?
Yes, that's right.
When you can no longer create like of yourself, when everything begins to become something different from you, when two heterosexuals create a homosexual, that's the end of the race.
Yes.
It is a divine signal that whatever the fuck you all were doing for all this millennium ain't working. It is contradictory to the plan. And that the only way that like can create an unlike thing is if that like thing has become so degenerated that it creates its degeneration in physical form. That's why homosexuals have the shrunken pituitaries and the shrunken hypothalamuses. This is not an accident. You read back in the Vedas, you read back in the Sumerian texts, they tell you that at the end of every civilization, homosexual went rampant. Is that an accident? No. It just seems to be cycling itself again. There are no accidents. The darkness became stagnant, a husk like coal that had a tiny spark or ember that would glow and show its presence only when you blew on it. That's you. The red, yellow, orange, green, blue, indigo, and violet that would glow from the dark matter melanin, all of which indicated your emotional focus as well as your attainment in consciousness, had blown out. The lights went out in Georgia. The magnesium molecule in this case was flushed from the framework of melanin. Magnesium is what? The fire molecule. Clue to what melanin is. If the magnesium molecule was flushed from melanin, beloved brothers and sisters, it means that the fire of intent and the inbred, the fixed purpose was flushed, because the fire molecule that was the relay for the ideation and the intent was flushed. Therefore the intent of molecule, or the intent of the melanin molecule was flushed. So when you flush the fire from the melanin molecule, when you flush the fire from the system, you can no longer link with your mind and then make melanin into what it is that you want to be. You cannot recreate the envelope anymore. So by flushing that fire molecule from your body, you flush the connection to the light that was your mind. The light that became the controller, the learner, the studier of all the things you needed to do in order to develop and evolve. The light code instructions could no longer be received from the blood. And light code instructions of symmetrically balanced frequencies were no longer in effect, causing a short in the circuitry of the corpus callosum and further widening the gap in the hemispheric perception. In other words, based on the fact that you could no longer glow, which was essentially the only time you actually glowed with your melanin is when both hemispheres were working. And when both hemispheres are working, it means that you had both hemispheres perceiving. You want to know why women glow when they become pregnant? Because when they get invaginated with, or when they become, when they begin to conceive, both areas of the brain start working. And it creates what is known, and what I have identified in my book as the vortex of life. That vortex of life begins to gather all the materials to bring that life into corporeal form. And that vortex of life is the melanin that triggers momentarily both hemispheres of the brain. That's why women become so in tune when they first become pregnant. That's if they're clean. That's if their body is not full of filth. They begin to understand and know, and they begin to speak the spirit into the womb. They talk the ancestor in, and they begin to have a conversation with the ancestor. That's why sometimes she had to sing And she was singing. She didn't know why she was singing. It's because the ancestor was singing from within. That was the connection of melanin. That is the intelligence that you have forgotten or was flushed from your reality. It centralized point, from its centralized point of focus as a black dot, it vibrated outward into its own ignorance. Let me tell you that again. When divine intent extended from its centralized point of focus as the black dot, it vibrated outward into its own ignorance. Now, the word ignorance has inherent properties within the structure of the words. Ego, igni, igneous, from the Latin meaning relating or characteristic of fire, formed by solidification from a molten or partially molten state of or pertaining to rock so formed. Ignorance has nothing to do with the lack of knowledge. Ignorance is a state of vibration. It is a frequency. And when you understand why the melanin molecule was flushed of its magnesium molecule, the igneous factor created the ignorant factor. And solidification from a molten state, partially molten state, a rock so formed. There it is. Now, here's the other part of it. Understand, beloved brothers and sisters, that when you create a hard rock, I am Peter, and upon this rock I shall build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. Where did you hear that? I'm telling you that the pineal gland must be hard as a rock. If you overuse your sexuality, it turns flaccid. For it to be able to encompass light, it must become as hard as a rock. That's why the Jesus or the Christ said, I am Pete Petra, I am the minerals. And upon the rock that is created by that light, I shall build my church. The gates of hell, which is passion, ignorance, shall not prevail against it. Now, once the pineal has been raised, and all of the material nutrients from the earth, because every mineral, every vitamin, and every nutrient is represented in your body already, and is distilled by your inhaling the fire vibrations of the sun as your breath. When you inhale, when you raise the consciousness from the Kundalini base, using that sludge to bring it up, using the melanin energy, dark matter consciousness to bring that Kundalini fire to light. When you can synthesize the magnesium molecule from the sun itself by holding on to your sexual forces, that's why you lost the magnesium molecule. Because the fire up here was sacrificed for the fire down here. And when you raise that particular energy, and the pineal becomes hard as a rock, I raised Kundalini before, but only to the 6th chakra. A great thunder hits you, like your neck snaps, scares the shit out of you. But what happens is you are being fixed by the energy that you're raising. A crack happens. And in your revelations it tells you an earthquake when the 6th seal was open. When that happens, a crystalline dew forms around the pineal. And what happens is the corpus callosum begins to allow this rain to fall for 40 days, 40 nights. In your head, dark matter is raining. They said when Noah was upon the seas, it rained 40 days and 40 nights, and the sky was black, and lightning and thunder. That was happening when he raised the Kundalini. And then after it subsides and the rain is falling and you are being fed that the energy, the crystalline dew from the corpus callosum, the sainted colossum. Did you hear that before? The sainted colossum, the Santa Claus that brings gifts down the chimney, or the frontilicus. And then bathes the child in the cradle, the pineal that sits in there. That's your nativity. Now, all the animals that looked around and was calm, that was your passions under control. Now, after everything was done, what happened after the great flood? What did Noah see in the sky? A rainbow! Do you know that Cranian photography has found that there is an arc of a rainbow around the pineal gland? All the colors that you see in the rainbow are in a tiny arc around the pineal gland. Coinky-dink? No. You are God. Anything they speak about in the Bible, all the great miracles that they speak about that happened on the earth, this was the earth. You are Noah. You are Joseph. You are every one of these characters. If you notice in the Bible, from Genesis all the way to hell to Revelations, you should start at the beginning, because if it's revealing at the back, you should start at the back. Now the Genesis itself, everything we are about is trying to go back to the beginning, right? So why the fuck are you starting at the beginning of the Bible? You're supposed to start at the Revelation and work back. Now understand and overstand. Every hero in every one of the books in the Old Testament had all these things in common.